Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
I'm here with Steve Palmer, who is with Transworld Business Advisors at 1910 Town Center Boulevard, Suite 250, which is just across from the new True Food Kitchen on the second floor, which is opening up. We're recording this on a Thursday. It is opening up actually officially tomorrow, so that's kind of exciting.
Don't tell anyone, John, but I have tickets for the soft opening this afternoon.
I'm going there for dinner tonight.
Ah, man, so, I thought I had something on you. Okay.
Nope. They had, I know a bunch of people had gone last night and yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's neat, guys. I've eaten the one in Bethesda, and it'd be a great addition to the food scene here in Annapolis.
That's so good. The town center's great. I mean, we're right across from Cooper's Hawk. We're right above Baltimore Coffee and Tea. Rise Up Coffee's around the other side of us, and the folks at Regis are
How long have you been in this location here?
So our Annapolis office is just getting off the ground. We've only been open for about 3 months. But
okay, you want to hear a funny story about Cooper's Hawk?
I always want to hear a funny story,
okay.
Yes.
Before it was Cooper's Hawk, it was Cadillac Ranch, which was sort of like a pseudo-country western kind. They did have a bull in there. Okay, so you could ride the bull. And it had that theme, but when the town center first opened, 24/7 fitness or something was here, and the engineers didn't think things through. So what was happening is they were working on the ventilation from 24/7 fitness.
Love it.
Okay, in the locker rooms and the sweat and the
oh no,
it was blowing out the roof, right, as it should. Okay, but their exhaust was right near the intake of Cadillac Ranch. So every time we went into Cadillac Ranch, it smelled like a musty jockstrap, and it was, and they had to re-engineer that to deflect the exhaust a different way in the intake. So it's
can't imagine why that's not here anymore.
I don't know that it was a great model for here, but it's and Cooper's Hawk has done just really well here. I mean, that's it's every time I tend to forget about it because it's on the second floor and you don't see it. And then when we're here, it's like, oh, let's go. And then it's like, do you have a reservation? I'm like, no. Yeah. And
they're busy.
They're always busy.
Busy.
I've tried to force myself in there a couple times. I said, do you have a reservation? Yes. I said, what's his name? John Frenay. No. I called, and then I started, okay, we'll get a place.
You cause this thing. I love it. When I'm working solo, I tend to go over there at lunch, but my lunch break happens anywhere from 11 to 2. So I've tried a variety of times, and they're always busy. They do a great business.
Always good to hear businesses doing that. Well, we are here to talk about businesses with Transworld Business Advisors.
Yeah.
And you are in the most simple terms, a business broker here in Annapolis.
Yes, we are. So we help business owners put a value on their business. We help business owners that are looking to sell. We help by marketing their business and generating demand and managing the buyers as they come in. For owners that are looking to scale, we can help them find businesses either in their industry or to help them vertically integrate throughout their supply chain, maybe add more products to their services, or just generally get better rates. And then we also help entrepreneurs that are looking to jump into business for themselves. So we can help them find the right business or buy into a franchise, just something so they don't have to start from scratch, because that starting from scratch is scary.
Well, we're in a weird time as we come out of COVID, and I mean, you hear about all these stories about people wanting to bail out of their existing jobs.
Right.
It'd be nice to, let's face it, it'd be nice to bail out of our jobs and not have to worry about anything, but very few of us have this Jeff Bezos bank account.
Right.
So you've got the Jeff Bezos haircut, but you don't have the...
For all of our listeners, I am a naturally bald guy.
But, it's... how is business for you? I mean, as far as is it strong coming out of COVID?
It is. It is strong coming out of COVID. What we're seeing are people that are. There were industries that actually had a really good year in COVID, and we're seeing those industries be able to flex a little bit and say, all right, how can I use some of this momentum that I gained in 2020 to take off? And there are other industries that were, quite honestly hurt. But again, we help businesses start up as well. So if the restaurant scene is beginning to bounce back. I have a new restaurant listing, and I'm getting a lot of inquiries, specifically in the Annapolis area. So we're starting to see some positive signs for that as well.
Interesting. Well, what type of, what type of people are buying business? I mean, okay, I guess to get rid of a business, to sell a business. I've got a business and I want to sell it. Why am I selling it? I mean, obviously retirement, and I'm old and I don't have any kids that want to take it over is probably the top reason.
That's one. For a sad reason, sometimes divorce is a reason that we see. You know, husband and wife get into a business together, and then they end up apart. It's never a good move. It's
very few.
Yeah, I mean, we also deal with serial entrepreneurs. You know, they get into a business, they grow it, they get to a point where they're ready for their next challenge and they're ready to move on to something else, and we're able to help them find whatever that next step is.
Okay, well, and then the alternative question on that would be, who's buying them? I mean, is it a bunch of people that have been in corporate America that said, okay, I've had enough of this working 9 to 5 for the man. I want to do it for myself.
I mean, that's what we're seeing. I mean, that's being reported on the Wall Street Journal. It's being reported on Forbes. It's been being reported on CNBC, among other places. You know, the fact that shots are going in arms. People are now realizing that, hey, my office is opening in September. Did I really want to deal that commute again? Or is now the time for me to branch out and kind of be on my own and take my future into my own hands?
Interesting. Well, and, you know, I've heard that also with businesses that a lot of people, and I'd like to see if I get your affirmation or something, but a lot of people don't realize the value of their businesses. Okay, maybe I'm a shoe shine guy, and I've started this little business, and maybe I don't even think of it as a business. It's a way that I make my living. And a lot of businesses I've seen just like, well, we're just going to close. And I know there was a retail store here in Annapolis that initially was going to do that, and then their son said, "Hey, wait a minute, I can rethink something like this." Yeah. I mean, is that what happens to a lot of businesses, that they just go away?
I mean, John, that's what happened to my father. That's kind of how I got into the business brokerage aspect of it. My dad ran a construction company back in my home state of Delaware for 25 years, for 30 years. It's successful in all accounts, right? He paid for my parents' house. He pays for their gallivanting. When down to the Caribbean, whenever they get down there, he was able enough to pay for my school, which is something I'll never be able to repay him for, because college was fantastic. And then one day I came home. I think his transition plan was to have me take over, and that really wasn't what I wanted to do. And I came home after a long day of supporting the government. I was a government consultant at that time. And we're sharing a beer. We're telling some stories, and he just, hey, I retired Tuesday. Like, Dad, like, what do you mean you retired Tuesday? Like, what does that even mean? It's like, yeah, the Great Recession has just kind of zapped my strength, and I'm tired and I'm ready to go into what's next. I'm like, so what does that mean? He's like, well, I'm able to sell my commercial piece of property, which he was lucky enough to invest in 8 years before, a decade before, something along those lines. So he had good equity. He owned that, and they're still okay. But I mean, that goodwill, the community value that he built over 25 years. I mean, we ran dynasties through the Felton Little League system. I mean, everybody knew our name, and yet, all of that just kind of went away because he just retired on Tuesday. So fast forward a few years, I got kind of tired working for the government and looking for something else, looking for a new challenge. And Transworld reached out to me, and it kind of dawned on me like, oh, yes, that's exactly what my father could have used. My father could have used a business broker to figure out what the value of that business is, figure out the value of the brand, and be able to get him more, get him top dollar. Because remember, all the business owners that I know are probably working more hours than they care to admit. Yeah. I mean, they're exhausted. They just had a rough year through COVID. But what they're doing is they are building equity. And often, their house is typically, the one piece of, or the one asset they have the most equity in, but that's followed closely by their business. And what we're able to do is help them get the most value for that piece of equity.
Well, that's, the land and buildings and stuff like that, that's a real easy thing to put a price tag on.
Yep.
And again, it's the value of a business that's been around, whether it be for 5 years or whether it be for 105 years. There is value in that, and whether it be the name. I'll use the example of Mills Fine Wine and Spirits in downtown Annapolis. It's been around forever, and it's known up and down the East Coast as the place to go for wine if you're in the area.
Stop by every time I can.
It's been sold a couple different times, and the name has remained. Other businesses have been sold, I know, and they've changed the name and they've changed the way they work and everything else. And at that point, I think they were probably just buying an income stream, if you will, or within the realm of what they wanted to do to sort of get a little bit of a leg up on there. But you are part of, I want to talk a little bit about your business, but you're Transworld Business Advisors, which is this a franchise?
We are a franchise. We are the largest business brokerage franchise in the world.
Okay. And, I've always, this is sort of my disclaimer on franchises, that a lot of people will sit there and say, oh, franchise, it's a big company. It's, all the money goes to some other place, not here in Annapolis. Yeah. And they can't be any further from the truth, because whether it's Transworld Business Advisors or whether it's the Athlete's Foot or whatever it is, whatever one it is, typically they are owned by local people.
Yes, they are.
Employing local people, working in the local community, spending the money in the local stores, and eating at Cooper's Hawk and True Food Kitchen when it opens up, and paying rent at Annapolis Town Center. So that's what a franchise is. It's and I look at a franchise as that's part of your marketing. Okay, you're a business broker, and just like you might take an ad out in the Capitol about your services, you're paying Transworld Business Advisors for advice, I'm sure, access to different things, and the brand.
Yep. That's exactly right. So we're paying for the brand. You actually buy into equity when you buy a franchise. So from the flip side of that, if you're instead of starting from scratch, if you buy into a franchise, you get a little bit of cash back in your pockets when you go to sell. So that's a little inside baseball there. But if you want to see me, I'm at multiple networking events every week. Just show up, networking in Annapolis. We're members of the local chamber. We're jumping on the cruise that's happening on July 29th, and jumping on a Watermarks boat. It's we're in town, and what's nice about this franchise model is exactly what you just said. Because a lot of the brokers that I know, and there's a lot of really good brokers in Maryland, don't get me wrong, but they tend to cover the state of Maryland, which means they have to focus on D.C. and they have to focus in Baltimore.
That was where I was sort of also thinking about, is that you may have an owner here in Maryland that is, I've got a thought of retiring in Montana. I don't know why that would come to mind, but whatever. And you've got also people that are in Montana that are saying, hey, maybe there is a great opportunity to move here. And we've heard about the whole mobility of the workforce. The folks that are in San Francisco Bay Area going, I think Oregon's nice. Let's try working there. Yep. So I think that probably lends very well that you've got a network nationwide.
Oh, without a doubt. And we offer a buyer match program. So if our buyers in Montana know someone's looking to move to Oregon in a business that suits, we get instant notification. So that's that's one of the values that our network provides. The other thing is, a lot of the owners that we work with are not scared, but maybe a little bit nervous, right? It's their first time going through this process. It's their first time selling a business. They've built one business for 30 years, for 35 years, for 40 years. Now they're looking to sell, and they don't really know where to get started. So, we help them get started with a evaluation that's easy enough. That's straightforward, right? You got to be able to put a price tag on something before you can sell it. But the other thing that we offer is through our network, we can actually go back and look at every deal that our network has done since 2014, which is over 37,000 deals. So I don't, whatever vertical you're in, whatever industry you're in, I can pull data on other deals that have been worked going back 8 years, 9 years, and say, all right, why did this one sell? Why didn't it sell? And we can make sure that you are competitively priced. We can make sure that we are using advertising that's going to jump out to buyers and get their attention. And we can really put a plan in place to get you the best value.
Well, information is really powerful. So if I'm looking to buy an ice cream shop here, and I'm not sure, they want $500,000 for it or something. I don't know. And I look, I'm like, well, you can tell me that one in some other city sold for what it sold for, and really sort of identify what the differences are. That the reason that it went for much lower is because they only pay minimum wage. Here we've got a $15 an hour minimum wage. This is the tax situation there, and so that's all information available to you.
So if I'm representing the seller, I can say, all right, here are 10, 20, 50 deals that have been sold since 2014 that resemble your makeup.
That's the comps.
Yeah, here's what they were priced at to move. And if I'm representing the buyer, which we also represent buyers, we can also say, hey, this is what this is currently priced at, and this is the minimum the revenue should be coming in. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for us to buy this location. It's a bad deal for you.
Interesting. That's interesting. Well, as far as buying. And we jokingly talked about Jeff Bezos' wallet, but how deep do your pockets need to be to buy a bit? And I realize that businesses can be absolutely anything. Right. You could be just a one-person graphic designer that's just sitting there working on a pad, every day to a gigantic corporation. But
yeah.
Is buying a business difficult? A, from the process, and B, from financial. I mean, obviously it can be. I mean, I can't. I don't think I can buy the town center. I don't
know, John. I've seen, you're reaching 15,000 people a week on this thing, right? I mean, we can put together some money, get a little GoFundMe going for you. What do you think?
GoFundMe is a whole different thing, and it's crazy.
Let's start a movement. Get John a town center. Let's go.
That I've seen. So yeah, they're not doing a good job. We want to buy it. So,
so what's great. Financing is intriguing. A lot of times what we recommend our owners do is hold the note. So we get seller financing. So you're not coming up with the full price of what the business is worth. You're coming up with 30-35%. So that down payment is less. Now you owe them a check on a monthly basis, but that it does get you in the door. You're asking for less money up front, which opens up our wider buyer stream. The other thing is, talk to your local banks, folks. Severn does a lot of really interesting things to help the community and get people into good businesses. I know folks up at Fulton. I know folks at M&T. We have friends of Transworld that I was actually, when I was buying in, all of my financial assets, if you will, were tied up into old IRA accounts and 401ks. We were actually able to transfer money out of my IRA accounts tax-free. So I didn't take the huge penalty that you always hear about when people are coming out of IRAs. So there are lots of ways that we can help people get the money that they need to buy into the business that they want.
And then I'm assuming there's traditional lending as well, right?
Of course.
You could go to a bank or a credit union and say, hey, this is, and they're going to evaluate it based on the business. They're going to do their own evaluation, I guess, of the business as well.
Yep. And depend on what you want to do. When I was getting involved with Transworld, or when I was taking a loan out to open up the Annapolis, SBA had some just amazing rates going on. So I went with M&T. They were great, helping me get through. But Severn has other advantages as well, and the local community bank is a flavor that I've come to really appreciate over the last 6 or 8 months, and I recommend them to anybody.
You got to love a good community bank. I remember back when I was first out of college, and everybody, that was back in the days when everybody was sending credit cards just for blinking.
Yeah, why not?
I had my Sears card, and I had probably $30,000 charged on it for that $15 a month minimum payment for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And my credit was shot, and looking to buy the first house, and the bank replied to the mortgage. They're like, "Dude, your credit is shot." And talking to the banker there, and he said, "Look, we're a community bank. You're here in the community and stuff like that. Typically, we sell loans." We're not going to be able to sell your loan, so we'll keep it in-house. But I want you to switch your banking here.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I was like, okay, well, we can do that. Yeah. And they did it. So that's, there's different ways to do things there. What are some, I know when I sell a house, you've got the home inspection going on where they dig deep, and which are, in this kind of weird real estate market, I understand they're being not asking for them now, but that's the idea. Is there somebody that's to look under the carpet and make sure that the cat hasn't peed all over the hardwood floors. There's got to be some hidden problems in businesses.
Yes, there is.
How do you evaluate that? How do you advise your clients to look out for the pitfalls?
Sure, right. So there's always a due diligence period. There's about a 2 week to 2 month due diligence period. We try to keep it as short as possible, but that gives the buyer the opportunity. At this point, we have an agreement in principle. The buyers come in, they've seen enough of the business that they like the business, they've toured the business, they've met the owner at this point. NDAs have been signed, so all the information's continuing to stay confidential throughout this process. But then we really give them a 2 week to 2 month grace period, depending on the size of the business, depending on the industry, depending on what we have going on. That's agreed upon by both sides, and CPAs can get involved, and they can say, all right, let me really see your books. Let me really jump in. Let me make sure the books aren't fraudulent. Make sure the books aren't doctored in any way. We bring lawyers in to make sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and make sure that both sides are signing up for what they think they're signing up for. Right? No one's getting fleeced. So that's part of our due diligence period. That happens obviously prior to closing. Closing, the worst part about this business is closing is so it's kind of a letdown because you go through all this hard work, and you've been back and forth with these guys for a few months, and everyone's kind of excited, and then you just kind of like sign the documents. 15
minutes here, sign here. Okay, well that's
it. Yeah. Here you go. Here are your keys. Go to work, guy. And I mean, it's always a huge relief, but I kind of I want like a gong, or I want I want a band playing in the background or something. I got to figure out how to work that in.
You would think so. Does it make sense to buy a new business as opposed to starting one? I mean, if I've got an idea, I mean, I don't think there's any original ideas out there anymore. Right. Very few of them anyhow.
Right.
And obviously, I mean, the one benefit I know is you've got cash coming in. You've got an established client base. It may be small, it may be large, but
and you have suppliers, and you have relationships with those suppliers. I mean, you have. It just reduces the risk. I mean, getting out and starting on your own, I mean, maybe you're well enough connected to do that. Maybe you can drag a couple clients kicking and screaming with you as you leave your previous job. But if you're looking to make a pivot, if you've been doing one industry your entire life and you're ready to change because it's just not of interest to you anymore, I mean, buy a business, get in and have something that's established that you can then use your skills to grow. And that's really what we're looking for when we're talking to buyers. This is how they've always done business. They've been in business for 40 plus years, and here's their customer base, and here's their marketing, and here's what their sales pipeline looks like. But what can you do to take this to the next level? How do you make this business your own? And when you do, what does that look like, and what does that get you?
Right. Now, have you seen a particular type of business? I mean, is there a type? I mean, I know that you represent, I've gone to your website, which is actually tworld.com/Annapolis. And I've gone there, and I mean, you've got bars, you've got restaurants, you've got, there was like a lingerie store. There was, there's any number of ice cream shops. I mean, embroidery shops and graphic design, the whole 9 yards. And, I mean, are you seeing any trends as far as the types of business? I mean, are there more restaurants or more retail or more service businesses, or is it all over the map?
So it's really all over the map, but they tend to come in clumps. So right now I'm seeing a variety of restaurants that are starting to come back. Why? I mean, restaurants had a really rough year in 2020. Things are opening back up. People are excited to get back out and start their own restaurants again and get back into the food scene. So that's been encouraging. I would expect the laundromats and dry cleaners to start bouncing back as well, because they had a really rough year when people weren't going into the office. They're not getting their clothes pressed anymore. So I'm expecting to see that market kind of pop up here in the near future. But I mean, they're really all over the map.
How do you work? I mean, do I hire you, or do you get a percentage of a sale, or is there a How does that work?
So like a realtor, we are a commission-based business. So I am working for free until I find a buyer for the seller or a seller for the buyer. Okay. Our typical commission is a little bit higher. It's typically 12%. It is something that we earn. It is something that we are very upfront about, and we explain in ad nauseum, all the way through. Here are the steps that we are going to take to earn your business. And it's different than selling a house, right? If you want to sell a house, the first thing you do is you hang a shingle up front saying this house is for sale, or you hire a realtor, and the first thing they do is hang a shingle up front. You can't do that for a business, and if you do that, what you're going to end up seeing is that actually the equity that you have built in your business is going to drop. And it's going to drop because your employees will probably say, oh, this business is for sale. I'm now nervous. I'm going to find something else to make sure that my family is taken care of. And they're going to go find new employment. So now you're losing employers. Your customers are going to say, oh, this business is for sale. I'm not sure I want to deal with the new owners. Therefore, I've got to take care of what is mine. And I'm going to go find someone to fulfill the services that you provide. So now you are losing clients as well. So once you lose clients and you lose employees, your valuation then has to go down. So it's really kind
of a lot of finesse that goes on with
there's
that.
A lot of finesse, and if there's anything that your viewers take away or your listeners take away, whether it's me or not, please reach out to a broker and make sure that you understand exactly how they can help you, because I do believe it is a very difficult process for owners to continue managing the day-to-day, which is the best thing that they can do to keep their valuations up, continue running the day-to-day as if nothing's changed, while managing the marketing of your business, while managing the buyers as they're going to call, because without fail, buyers are going to call as soon as you call that all hands meeting. How do you explain away? Oh no, that was just that's Jim. That's my long lost cousin. We're going to grab drinks when he's in town.
Well, that was you're so right, because in a prior life I owned several travel agencies, and that was a relationship based business. Okay, and I wasn't naive enough to think that everybody was doing business with me because of me. Because I tend to be a jerk, but that's but it was the travel professionals that they were working with. They trusted Mary or Frank or whoever it was to give them the experience that they wanted. The fact that they were working for me is very similar probably to a hairstylist. Is neither here nor there. It doesn't matter. This is my travel professional, and I know when we did acquire some businesses and we did sell throughout the period that I had that. That was really critical. I mean, you needed to make sure that your employees stayed, because that could kill the deal, and you want to make sure that your clients aren't spooked. Yeah,
and that's something that we work through. We make sure that during that due diligence period, when the CPAs are coming in, and the lawyers are coming in, we're also locking in key employees. And that's whether that's a raise or a bonus that gets paid out over 6 months or 2 years to make sure that they stay a certain amount of time, or whether that's making sure that we lock in clients and strategically capture at least your top 5, hopefully your top 7 clients, to make sure that they're aware of what's going on and we get their questions answered. That is part of the process to make sure that these key resources aren't leaving with the old owner.
So you actually would go out and talk to clients that, obviously with the permission of the client and the seller,
and the buyer,
to just say, hey, to gauge their comfort level of remaining.
We will do whatever we take to make sure the deal gets done. So yes,
I mean, so if I'm your client, you're coming in, you're talking to me and saying, and you go back to your seller and you say, okay, well, I spoke with John and explain the new thing. I told him a little about the potential buyer and this and that. He's on board,
and he's on board, or he wants to meet you. He wants to have coffee. I mean, we make sure that there is
or he was totally spooked and wow, okay.
I mean, we want to make sure that our buyers, as they're coming in, are getting what they're buying as well. We don't want people coming in. Our motto is good deals for good people, and good deals are on both sides, right? They're both for the seller and they're both for the buyer. So we need to make sure that all parties are covered here.
Right. And are there still, what do you do if you bought a business? Okay, right. Say I put my 30% down, and the owner is carrying the note or the payments over the next X number of years. I get into it, and let's not talk about the little minutia, but I mean, I find there's some serious cracks in that foundation. What are the ramifications to a buyer on a business? I mean, there's no warranty on it. Right. There's no guarantees.
There's no warranty. There's no guarantee. I mean, at some point, once the keys are turned over and the checks clear, it's on the buyer. The buyer is now the business owner. They've kind of got to fix that. That's why we give that either 2 week or 2 month grace period for them to really kind of dig in and make sure that they understand. So there's really
not a lot of options if something that we didn't uncover during that due diligence, I guess, is what you might call it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's laid out in the legalese, that could be a different story. But I mean, that's why we really open the books and we let the buyers come in and really see, everything that they want to see about the business, answer every question that they have about the business. If they turn something up that they're not comfortable with, then we'll figure out how to address that prior. But once
we can either fix it, reduce the price, whatever, or walk away from the deal.
All of those are options, right? So we really want to make. That's why we emphasize that due diligence period.
Okay, so it's very similar, I guess, to buying a used car.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talked about selling a house, right, or buying a house, and how the home inspections are being waived, right? I mean, people.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy to me.
And now people are going to start finding, wow, that floor needs repair, that deck needs repair, this was done shoddily. I mean, all things that would have been taken care of, had there been a home inspection. But once the checks clears and you get the keys, it's like, now it's on.
It's funny. I'm sitting here looking, I'm thinking, okay, there's plenty of people that know how to work on cars. So there's, if you're mechanically inclined, you can probably buy a good used car and know that you're getting a good deal. There's a lot of people that are very home inclined, that you can go down and the major systems to look for. Let's just check the electrical panel. Let's check the plumbing. Let's make sure the sump pump works. So whatever it is, the big things that are going to cause you a lot of things. There's a lot of people that have that. I got to imagine there's very few people that know what to look for when it goes into a business, because I mean a business typically is not something that you're flipping over every 5 or 10 years. 5 years in a term of a car, or maybe 10 or 20 years of a house. I mean, this is a super long-term investment. I mean, and I would imagine that the seller probably may not even realize there are some cracks, and the buyer, may discover some or may not even realize it as they come in.
Yeah. And that's what we're here to bring those two sides together. That's ultimately what my job is. My job is to make sure those two sides.
If this doesn't work, you can get when online dating fails, you can start doing the matchmaking thing.
Am I getting? Are you divorcing me already? Like, come on, man.
But yeah, I mean, you guys are such a vital aspect of the intermediary. I mean, there's a lot of intermediary type positions in the world that you can probably argue don't do a whole lot or don't bring a lot of value to the table. But I think that's way different with this, because I mean, I'm not going out and buying businesses like somebody may buy cars to flip cars or flip houses,
sure,
even. And this is something that's dependent. I mean, obviously, if you're in business for your own, it's going to be one of the most significant purchases or acquisitions of your life, besides your home and probably your education for your kids or something like that. Yeah,
absolutely. And if you're one of those serial buyers that go in, and are looking to buy up a variety of businesses all within an industry or buy up a vertical, I mean, good for you. You probably shouldn't be reaching out to me. You probably have your own folks. I mean, we're really focused on helping the Main Street businesses.
Well, talk about reaching out to you. You want to go to tworld.com/Annapolis.
Yes.
And just sort of for you, because, I mean, you're a wealth of information and knowledge that's in there. But if somebody wanted to pick your brain, whether it be, hey, I've got a business I'm thinking about selling, I'm not ready to pull the trigger yet, or somebody that's like, oh, man, September's rolling around. I got to get back in the office and work for the man. The metro. I can't say, whatever it may be. I mean, can they can they meet with you and pick your brain? And
Yes, always. I mean, sellers, anybody that's listing up, 12 to 18 months is really our sweet spot. Because at that point we can, we can start coming up with a game plan that's going to work for them. So that's, we'll certainly help anybody that's, hey, I was talking to an owner a couple weeks ago that, unfortunately had to have a surgery and was, needing to get out immediately. Like, sure, we're more than happy to take your business, but those aren't the people that we can help. The people that we can help are looking 12 to 18 months down the road and saying, hey, I want to get on to something that's
it's a process. It's a courtship. Yeah. And I mean, I know with the agencies that I had purchased, I mean, it's, we'll throw it down. I didn't want to sell it to an asshole.
Yep.
And make your own definition as to what it is. But the owner or the buyer and the seller have to get along. And most, as you said, most of your deals are probably with the owner or the seller holding some of the note for a period. So they're going to be
in touch.
They're going to be married together for a little bit.
And we can take we can try to weed out some of those. What was the term? Asshole? Was that a technical term? Yeah. So we can try to weed out some of those assholes when they're coming in, and make sure that the buyer doesn't even have to see those guys.
Sure.
Don't even have to deal with them. And that's kind of the first step. We're kind of the gatekeepers on that aspect, if you will. But you're right. I mean, we're here to find good marriages and put good marriages together for business owner and business seller.
What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Email might be the easiest. It's spalmer, Palmer, at tworld.com. You can also give me a call at 410-842-6063.
How'd they get tworld.com? That's a great domain. That is
a great domain. Yeah.
How long have they been around?
40 years. They've been in business for 40 years.
How many?
40. They have done tens of thousands of deals. And I say they because while I've been there for longer than our Annapolis office has been around, I have not been there for the entire 40-year period.
Where are they headquartered?
Down in Florida.
Steve Palmer, Transworld Business Advisors here in the Annapolis Town Center. They are at 1910 Town Center Drive, which is Suite 250, upstairs across from Bed Bath & Beyond, I guess?
Kind of.
No, kind of catty corner from Bed Bath & Beyond on the second floor.
Yeah.
Across from Cooper's Hawk.
If you get to the second floor, we'll come flag you down. How's that?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. This has been fascinating. If anybody has a business that they're looking to sell, get in touch with Steve. If anyone's considering getting out on their own and having their own business, get in touch with Steve. Or if you're even considering it, give him a call and pick his brain. I think he'd. I see he's drinking a Baltimore coffee company. You could probably take him downstairs and buy him a cup of coffee. And probably works for cheap.
I am a cheap date.
Steve, thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. It's a good time.
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.